Let's take some emails.
Hey, if you want to send an email into this here podcast that you're listening to right now, you would send that into castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com. You'd be sending that email to, got a little burpee there, castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com. And if you do send an email into castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com, your email might get read on this podcast, the Castle Super Beast cast. The Castle. Oh, I don't want. That is
Don't
confusing.
do that.
That is actually confusing.
See, I tried. That's why I made it clear.
The Castle Super Beast podcast.
Yes. I could have made that
is legitimately
mail,
fucking super confusing.
I chose that mail very carefully.
Yeah, that is weird.
Don't do it.
You might have your email read like this. Hopefully, I gave Woolie enough time to pull up the email.
So, we got one coming in from Matt T. Says, "Hey,
yo, man.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Woolie. With Get Into Fighting Games being sort of a spiritual successor to FNF, can we get a continuation of SMS called Get Out of Fighting Games?"
That's a great name.
You claim the bottom of the barrel is still thick. I'd love to see FGC players lower themselves to poverty.
That is a great name for a segment.
Get Out. That's really funny. We are playing poverty, absolutely. Every week, if you haven't noticed. Like the first time we played, the first week we played something legit. We played like Mark of the Wolves, and then we did like fucking Neo Aquarium.
Yeah.
So we are playing poverty.
Yo, I saw some clips of you playing Neo Aquarium. That shit looked crazy.
Yeah.
It looked awesome.
I am subjecting FGC players to absolute trash. So yes, that is totally happening. God, shoutouts to fucking Two Metal and Cranky Construct and Lee Mouse.
Yo,
Smith.
yeah, for real. Like, I messaged Cranky right after that. I'm like, how did you do that? And he was like, it was no problem. I'm like, how's no problem? How are you so strong?
I'm so happy with that intro.
You should be. It's the best.
We got one coming in from
Get Out of Fighting. That's fantastic.
Austin says, "Hey, Castle Super, opening with an hour of talking about childhood trauma beasts.
It was closer to an hour and a half this week.
Been meaning to get around to sending you this, but lol, no energy.
You know what you need.
Ja Rule stole my shirt.
What?
That Fire Fest stuff is a bit out of the zeitgeist now, but I was actually anyway directly affected by Fire shit show. Back in 2017, I had started a long-distance relationship with this girl I met via a shitpost I made on Twitter that went somewhat viral. She was working at an event planning company which was planning a big festival called Fire, although she wasn't on that project. She has her own place, and we made plans to visit in June. Until then, I decided to be cute and send her one of my favorite shirts in the mail. Fast forward a week after, and everything is fucked, and the receptionist with the only key to the mail just stopped coming after the meetings, and everyone was asked to keep working without pay. To this day, I don't know what happened to the shirt. So although it's somewhat indirect, I blame Ja Rule, because it's funny to say Ja Rule stole my shirt.
He stole your shirt. He's wearing it right now.
We're still together, though, and we're moving in a couple months.
Oh, that's very sweet. Congratulations.
There you go. Thanks, Austin.
You should get to the bottom of that.
I think he might have stole your shirt, bro.
You know what? You know who to help you? 50 Cent. 50 Cent will help you.
Investigate the stolen
Investigate
shirt.
what the deal with the shirt is.
Yeah.
He is bored. He is a bored rich man.
There's a lot of smart people in this room. I wouldn't say I stole a shirt.
Ja, you're wearing the shirt right now.
I just borrowed it for a while.
Ja, it's dirty. It stinks. You haven't taken the shirt off in weeks.
We got one coming in very aggressively because...
Oh, yeah? Aggressive emails.
Dilly Dally decided to keep bumping this one for weeks upon weeks upon weeks.
You should not read it.
It's good. It's a good email. I'm gonna but it's like I got it, Dilly. You don't have to do that. I got it.
Anybody who ever tries this gimmick ever again will get those emails deleted. So you send those in once.
Yeah, I'm not rewarding this behavior, but it's decent enough. So, Dilly Dally says, "Hey yo, people who bring joy to
That's me.
I was recently having a conversation about with my best bud about what makes games hard. About the belief that many of the games are considered hard are not really that hard, but rather punishing. I started with the example of Souls.
Yeah.
Mechanically, Souls are not difficult. Many people are shown, as many people have shown, like One Bros or randomized mods, it gets a reputation because it's punishing with mistakes that have severe consequences.
That's correct.
Aside from the plot, when you start the game, you already have all the abilities and things you need to beat it. There's nothing standing in your way but your own mistakes and inexperience. My friend brought Cuphead up as another
Cuphead's
example.
fucking hard.
They beat it in 2 hours, and they find games of this type easy because they're also a rhythm gaming wizard.
Oh, okay.
After the conversation, it turned to how FPS games and other genres, like RPGs, would fit this paradigm of difficulty versus punishment. The games that capitalize on mistakes and poor planning versus games that are actively impeding the ability to succeed and adding more enemies, versus games that passively impede the player, like having less ammo. You might have touched upon this topic when discussing Rising Thunder versus Street Fighter versus Dive Kick. Character action games like Devil May Cry 4 aren't really punishing because you can take many hits, but it is hard because your ranking and style require mastery of the game. This can be seen as perpendicular in high punishment, realism/hardcore, FPS games such as Insurgency or Day of Infamy, where a brand new person can frag the top because the person at the top made a mistake and missed a shot.
This is a really broad topic. It's basically this email is just a question like, what's the deal with difficulty in games? This is way too broad to answer adequately here. But I would actually broaden out his definition of difficulty versus punishment. There are dozens of ways games can be difficult. Games can be physically demanding of your reflexes and eyesight. Games can be mentally demanding of your ability to plan ahead, like Tetris, right? Tetris is like, you got to be fast, but you also got to think fast, right?
Yeah.
Many games, particularly a lot of the games that I like to play, the difficulty lies in a lack of knowledge. Like take an isometric RPG. I don't know how the enemies and the systems in this game work.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is difficult.
Once you
As
learn.
I gain mastery over what this does, what this character does, what this enemy does,
Yes.
it becomes more easy, and that knowledge will carry me forward.
Yeah, I'd say RPGs are absolutely that.
Yeah.
Because there's no, like, the only thing that'll fuck you up is a bad decision.
Right.
Right.
There are games.
Sometimes a bad roll.
Yeah. But you can always mitigate that with good knowledge.
A game like Super Meat Boy is actually just severely punishing.
Yes.
It's not that it's hard as much as it is you cannot make mistakes.
You are not allowed.
Exactly. So if you allow for 0 mistakes, the game will automatically have that perception of being harder than it actually is. But
now there are games that are not.
there
are games that are not that difficult, but are extraordinarily punishing. I would say, I don't want to say Dark Souls, because Dark Souls is difficult in a lot of places, and it's difficult in a very weird meta way in that when Dark Souls and Demon Souls 1 came out, they did not function like other games around them, so they had a inferred knowledge problem.
Well, Cuphead's
hard as fuck.
Cuphead is hard because you can't make mistakes.
Yeah.
If you could make more mistakes in Cuphead, it would not be as hard.
Start the level over.
That's that's what it is. And yeah, so it is a balance,
there's all these
right?
different factors to difficulty, and all the best games will introduce all the types of difficulty: knowledge, reflex, planning, etc.
Experience,
right?
Yes, yeah.
But some games are just like, do you have the fucking mental brain power to plan ahead? For example, my dad used to fucking play the PC version of Risk for 195. Beast all over that fucking game. I couldn't figure out what the fuck he was doing. He learned exactly how the AI would move.
Yeah.
And at that point, the game became totally trivialized because whatever. You know exactly what the enemy's going to do.
So I would say Darkest Dungeon is a pleasant mix of all things, because knowing what's coming, if I were to tell you exactly what was about to happen, that doesn't guarantee that you have the ability to stop it.
But it does give me the ability to mitigate it. So, for example, the ruins don't bring bleed. Nothing there bleeds.
But
bring blight.
But if you've already committed to that journey, you might be fucked.
Yeah.
If you have a cast of characters that might not be, the ones you're fucking looking for, like, yeah, you might be fucked in that.
And then there's games that have mechanical difficulty versus purely memorization difficulty.
Darkest Dungeon 2 is coming out.
Yeah, by the way, Darkest Dungeon 2 is coming out.
Darkest Dungeon 2.
By the way, good job putting that on the docket.
Darkest Dungeon fucking 2. That's the best.
It is the best.
That's the best. I'm really, really,
I don't think
really
I like
happy.
Darkest Dungeon. I think I love Darkest Dungeon, and I think I am miserable every time I play it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It went badly?
I can't get anywhere. I'm miserable with every mistake. Like, it's... The goblins make it bad. Okay? The mind goblins make it bad to play.
Did you attempt any of the other modes?
Like, I played on Radiant. I played like 10 hours, and I'm like anxious and miserable the whole time.
Wow.
Like, it's like I appreciate it, and I know it's a fantastic game, but I don't think it's for me.
Wow. The mind goblins.
Yeah. But other people with less mind goblins have a similar issue.
So
it's just like the core of the game, which is throw this shit in the dirt, it doesn't matter, hurts me. That sucks to Pat.
In terms of characters?
Characters, runs, anything.
But you are you attempting a perfect run?
No, I'm not.
Because you're gonna get out with characters that you lose.
Let me put it to you this way. You know how every time you finish a run in Darkest Dungeon, you have negative effects?
You crawl past the finish line.
Right, you crawl past it, but you end up, it's like, oh, this guy got this debuff, and this guy's stressed. Those negative effects feel worse to me than the success of the mission feels good.
Put them in the cloister.
No, you're not. You don't. Every mission ends with me feeling worse than I feel happy.
Because of the debuffs.
Because of the downsides. Because I never feel like I succeeded, even when I actually succeeded.
But it's progress.
That's
goblins.
And there's a non-goblin version of that as well.
I don't even know how to address that one, because it's like, that sucks.
I like to play games and feel like I'm doing well, if I am doing well. And Darkest Dungeon is explicitly designed to kill that feeling on purpose. And that's cool. But that makes me feel bad.
Here's what I can say, is you can mitigate that by doing two things. One, you can cheat by just, like, wikiing everything.
Yeah,
And once you get back, whenever you do get negative effects, and occasionally your curiosity is a little bit too high or whatever the fuck, you just spend the rich money you have just fixing that one problem.
It's the kind of game that I'm going to try again and again and again and again, like once a month, probably until the sequel comes out.
Did you play with mods?
Only the one that increases tooltips and makes the game a little faster. That's it. I was explicitly recommended off of nearly all mods by a ton of people because they horribly unbalance the game. And it was recommended Radiant by pretty much everyone just because it's faster. It's not any more. It's not any easier. It's just faster.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I've only ever played the raw base game, so I can't speak for any of them except for the brand new knowledge I've had of.
But yeah, no, I appreciate that game, but I think I might hate it.
Yeah,
but I will continue to attempt to appreciate it because that's how I felt about Demon Souls. This exact feeling is how I felt about Demon Souls, and then I crossed just a threshold, and now I'm obsessed with that whole thing.
I mean, so the fact that you get like your life bar permanently halved when you're upon death, you got over that.
Oh, I never went human the first time I played Demon Souls ever. So that extra part of the life bar might as well not have existed.
Okay, so you were literally undead the entire time.
I like when given a situation like that, I will literally go, nope, I'm never gonna buff myself because it'll just go away. So I'll just fucking.
What about eating fucking herbs in Resident Evil?
That just gets you back up to your default state.
Plus better, if it's all three, no?
Yeah, but I only use those in boss fights when I know I'm gonna take more damage.
Goblins.
Well, I beat Resident Evil 2 hardcore the other night. I finished that game on hardcore, which is much more difficult, with 40 shotgun shells, 175 handgun rounds, a secondary weapon that you haven't seen yet, completely full of ammo, and like 27 magnum rounds. and was still juking enemies because what if I don't have enough?
What if I don't have enough?
In like the last rooms, like I had ammo to kill the entire game twice over.
I do not want to be that. I do not want to be you.
You gotta save it. What if you need it later?
Oh man.
No, what if you need it later, man?
Keep trying.
I beat the final boss with the magnum ammo, and then point out, oh man, I almost ran out of magnum ammo. Good thing I saved it. And people point out, you had hundreds of handgun rounds and almost 50 shotgun rounds. What are you talking about? I'm like, but
you already know deep down inside how good
it's a never-ending struggle.
You know how good the game is. So.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, up. Greetings, Lord Chewington and Sir Fuckface.
Yo, what up?
Castle Super Beast. Cleft says, after the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in history, that is the dissolution of SBFP, I decided to go and listen to the old podcast from episode 1 during my daily commute.
Oh, that's probably a trip.
As I listened, I couldn't help but let off a constant stream of "oh no's" podcast after podcast as I listened for your enthusiasm for things like Mighty Number 9, Inafune, and the future of Kickstarter games, the bright 60 FPS everything on the new generation of consoles. Do you remember any other statement or previous positions that has aged as well as a fine glass of milk?
My favorite one is that I predicted the Switch to the letter. I'm going to hold on to that win forever.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I can't stop you, but if you go back and decide to listen to old shit, including the beginning of this podcast, it's dated and probably all wrong and terrible.
Well, it's transient.
It's a moment.
It's an ephemeral, transient form of entertainment that often will not hold up because it has zero hindsight.
And we're all living speculation, day to day. Like, you don't feel that the present is speculation because you don't have any future knowledge.
I've been told on occasion that I might speculate a little wildly.
I think everybody.
But that's fun to me.
I think all of you listening, I think everyone, if you could go back and listen to the speculation and excitement you had for things in the past based on not knowing what horrible things were coming down the pipe, you would cringe.
I do feel, however, that it is appropriate that the most wrong we ever were on that podcast was like the first thing we ever talked about, which was Mighty Number 9.
It's
the first episode.
First episode?
It is the first fucking episode.
That's why that keeps coming back.
And it is like, if you're not excited for Mighty Number 9, you are fucking stupid. That is a quote one of us said.
I was wondering why that kept coming back up whenever people talk about the old ones, but it's the first one.
It's the first one, and it is like the actual fucking wrongest ever.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. You can't change it. Wouldn't have it any other way. We got one coming in from Rowan. Hey, yes. Hey, Wolves. You mentioned it before that the denomination you grew up in was SDA. I knew some general stuff about that is relatively common, like Saturday Sabbaths and the particular take on the rapture. What I didn't know until today was that it was a blast to hear about. They actually sprang out of the Millerism movement and one of the many doomsday movements that acquired the humorous nickname of the Great Disappointment. Yeah, that's real.
Can I hazard a guess that is like disappointment that the apocalypse did not occur?
That's correct.
Fuck.
Which that. On its own has put it up in there as history's greatest fuck-ups go. So can we get another Bible Talk segment that just goes over what Millerism was and sets the Seventh-day Adventists apart for listeners who don't know? I feel like your personal spin on the story would be just reading about it. Keep on figuring it out, Rowan. Thanks, Rowan. Appreciate you.
I'll take this one. Jesus.
That's correct. No, I'm not going to spend. I don't want to spend too much. I'm not going to like fucking go on forever on it. It's really short and simple. Is that Seventh-day Adventism before it was that came from a movement because there's a dude called William Miller. And William Miller said that
it's Miller time.
Yep.
And then
you know when Miller time is?
What's that?
Miller time is 1844.
Oh my God, is that the actual fucking original Doomsday?
Yes.
Holy shit, that's super wrong.
Calculated. He pulled out the fucking the magnifying glass and the beakers, and he did the science, and he read the texts and the Bible. He's like, you know what? I figured it out. I cracked the code. It's all ending in 1844.
1844.
And everybody really, really leaned in hard. And they were basically like, yeah, man, if you're not a Millerist, who the fuck are you? Right?
You got to get ready.
You got to get ready. That's the whole thing. And people were like on the edge of their seats like never before. On the exact date was, I want to say it was like May something. Like May 22nd or something like that. 1840. It was an exact day. And they were saying goodbye to each other. And they were like, imagine if you were as sure as the sun would rise tomorrow that it wasn't.
So I'm going to point out, I just did a little history check right there, that Miller time precludes the founding of Confederation of Canada by 23 years. So in Miller time, there is no Canada.
So the great disappointment occurs, and everyone goes, "Bah!"
Oh no, we're not dead.
Panic and sweat, and everyone freaks out and goes, What happened?" Right? Because this is your whole existence at this point.
You don't have, it's 1844. You don't have internet. You can't look at your anime.
All you have is everyone else you know that's waiting on the end.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's what the book says. And then a bunch of different schools of thought form out of what went wrong. What happened? Asks everybody. And a couple people go, I know what it is. 1844 is not the end of the world. That's the closed door. What this means is we didn't see the second coming because that's when the door shut.
That sucks. That sucks. That is nightmarish as a conclusion for the rapture and for heaven. That is the worst. I can't believe that.
If you have not been a saved soul up until this point in time, that was the shutting of the door. And now we're in the final phase where your fates have been sealed. And all you can do is wait for the true end.
What happens to everyone born in 1945 onwards?
The door has been shut. That led, so the great disappointment
that sucks.
Leads directly to the shut door theory. And that was what most people went on. They're going, oh, what we concluded was correct. It's just the process was different from what we thought.
That is just as ridiculous as fucking predestination with the Catholics. That is just as ridiculous as that.
Ellen G. White has visions and basically concludes after doing the studies. It's serious, Pat. It's serious.
I just feel like we made a big jump in tone.
Ellen G. White studies the Great Disappointment and eventually concludes alongside other people. Initially, she buys into it and talks about it a little bit, and it's a little bit embarrassing because her prophecies later on, you're supposed to be like a prophet can never get anything wrong.
Well, no, it's kind of part of the deal.
And technically people say, well, no, she didn't really push it. She just used the language of the people at the time to convince them with her points, but that's a point up for debate. Regardless, Ellen G. White then goes on and says effectively that no, what it was is that, okay, so in the Bible there's a ceremony that takes place where the head priest goes into the holiest of holies, and it's like a chamber inside of a chamber, and it's where the Ark, Ark of the Covenant, that like the ghost comes out and kills the Nazis.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so they'll
actually kill anybody, pretty much.
Yeah. So that
thing is fucked up.
The original place where that thing was being carried was into the holiest of holies, inside a chamber with an outer. It's like that place. If you go in there, you fucking drop dead. You can't handle it. It's the presence of God.
Yeah, no, you have to be of a significant holiness or whatever.
The gate around that, the curtain around that. If you go in there, and it's like that's already fucking dicey.
Yeah.
You can't really be a sinner, right? But your inherent sin, the thing that makes you human or whatever, can still be inside of you. But the holiest of holies, the big priest, we got to tie a rope around him because if he goes in and drops dead, we got to pull his body out. That's how that goes.
All right.
So there's a process where eventually the sanctuary is cleansed, and there's a process where like that thing is sealed, and then everybody he cleanses all the sins of everybody.
This feels like a curse rather than a blessing.
The conclusion is that the version of that ceremony that took place on Earth took place in heaven, and that the closed door wasn't actually the closed door. It was the sealing of the sanctuary ceremony. And now, after 1844, until the end of days, we're in the final days. Right? We're in the final stages.
No matter how long those final days last.
We can hit 26th century and be running around with Battle Angel Alita. But we are in the final days at that point.
I want to backtrack a little bit, because the Ark of the Covenant fucks me up.
Oh, yeah?
Because the Ark of the Covenant...
big God box?
The Ark of the Covenant is a big God box that if you get close to it or you open it and you are anything other than Jesus level pure, you will instantly die. And this is a holy object.
Yeah, because you have sin in you.
That is a D&D cursed chest.
Sin cannot,
like that, like, come on.
Sin cannot exist in the presence. That's how it goes. Pat, the year is fucking whatever 14th, 13th, 11th century. I don't know, right? The year is way back when. A gigantic light falls from the sky.
Cool.
And lands in the middle of a populated city.
And
a black rock is found at the epicenter.
That's cool.
2019, what do you call that?
Meteorite.
Yeah. Back then, what do you call that?
Sign from heaven. What have you.
What do? You create.
Well, you got to make a sword out of it so you can kill that big cobra motherfucker.
No. You build a gigantic fucking thing around it, and you make it so that, like, this is now the holiest place on planet Earth. And that's how that goes, right? Mm-hmm. What other knowledge Anyway, the great disappointment, the closing of the door, etc., and so on and so forth. That's basically where Seventh-day Adventism came from. When Ellen G. Wright said, nah, it's cool. The door ain't that closed. It was just the fake door upstairs, not the real one down here.
I'm going to start a religion.
Got it. Blackjack and hookers?
Nah.
Xenu?
Called Patism.
Okay.
All right. Get into heaven by littering.
What's litter?
Litter is garbage that you throw on the ground.
What's garbage?
Anything. Anything you want.
What's the ground?
If it's the earth, the earth outside.
Is the ground underneath you right now?
No. I'm in a building.
So anything that you throw on the ground is considered garbage?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you garbage?
Yes.
If you throw yourself on the ground?
Yeah.
Is that littering?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Then we're all littering.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're all perfect converts.
The more you litter, the better heaven you get into.
If you stand on the ground, then you're always littering.
Yeah.
You got to get down to the technical questions.
Do I?
Yes, you do.
Do I really?
Because the theologians...
I just want to be a Captain Planet villain.
The theologians need to question the exact nature of this and how it works. And this is the studies that people thousands of years from now...
I'll fucking bullshit it as I go along and I get the money.
Because people's lives and or their ability to keep their genitals might rely on you deciding what litter is. I'm just saying.
It's aluminum.
You need to make sure people know what litter is when you write this down. Because if you don't put those details in, it's going to be messy a couple thousand years from now.
Give aluminum back to the earth.
It's going to get messy if you don't write the details down. You know those little details that you're kind of going, I don't know right now? Yeah, they become a problem when you fast forward to the future.
Listen, Woolie, I don't think you understand. How
many languages you gonna write this in?
Listen,
one?
Hey, no.
Aramaic? Is that the only one? No. Are you sure?
Woolie, listen, I'll be dead. I don't care. I'll be in littering heaven. Don't give a shit.